to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and joining me today, I have Greg Wheeler. He is the frontman of Greg Wheeler and the Polygamist Mall Cops, as well as he is the main man in Night Stories. If you guys haven't checked out Night Stories, that was them in the intro. It's also going to be them in the outro, and they really sound like John Carpenter and Trent Reznor got pushed into a room and told they weren't allowed to leave until they made a record together. So, absolutely amazing. How are you doing today, Greg?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the super flattering intro. Jeez Louise.
No, it's awesome, man. Like I said, I was just mowing the lawn. That's why I'm all showered up. Listening to Night Stories the whole time. So you guys definitely check that out. While we're on that subject, I know things are kind of crazy right now with COVID and everything with the pandemic, but what do you got coming? Anything news you can give us coming up about the bands or?
More on the Poly Mall Cops front, just because I think due to the nature of the pandemic, Night Stories, which I love doing, I love getting spooky. It's probably more relevant to this podcast show. But I don't know if we're gonna be able to play a whole lot in October. You know, some of my venues are closed. Don't really want to get in big groups of people right now, despite the fact they probably wearing rubber masks at Night Story shows because it's spooky party. But Mall Cops have an LP that we're going to put out probably in spring of 2021. We're kind of recording it now during the pandemic, putting my career energy into that. So, yeah, in the meantime, you can stream it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, whatever you stream. And if you're more into tangible physical media, which I know you love physical media, Ken, we talk about it on the show all the time. Night Stories has a LP, a 45, and Poly Mall Cops have 245s as well. So we got tangible things for your streaming, whatever. So
that's awesome, man. I can't wait to get my hand on some of those LPs. You know how, like you said, you know how I am with that. So you know that I'll be getting my hands on them.
Absolutely.
I am excited today because we are going to talk about your first horror movie. Today we are actually doing a triple feature. But that wasn't really your first horror movie. Let's talk just a little bit about your first horror movie before we get into that.
Yeah. So technically, my first memory is actually my earliest memory is watching the original King Kong, 1933 King Kong, which I absolutely love that flick. I mean, I'm wearing my jacket, but I have a Kong's tattoo. I love it. It's important to me. It's my first memory, but being as is my first memory, it's really foggy, as your first memories tend to be. So I can't speak to that in depth, to tell you exactly what it felt like watching it and all that. It's more I remember, seeing Kong rip the jaw off a dinosaur, and I thought that was really badass as a kid. But as far as what would be my more memorable experience seeing horror would be this triple feature when I was about 7. So I wasn't supposed to really be watching these movies. I'll say up front. My family, my parents aren't big horror people. That's not their go-to movies. And it just wasn't something you ever really watched. Also, they'd prefer me to probably be watching the Star Wars trilogy, or Ghostbusters was probably about as spooky as they would show me, right? And I love Ghostbusters. Bustin' makes me feel good. But it's more of a horror comedy. I feel like you're looking more for horror, right?
Yeah.
So I can't tell you if it was my older brother or my older sisters, but I'm signing back in here.
You're good. You're still there.
So, all right. Well, okay.
You didn't go anywhere. You're still here.
Okay. You can just edit that out. Just movie magic. You got the magic touch, I'm sure. So I can't tell you if it's my older brother or one of my older sisters, but someone had rented 3 horror films, and they basically told me, okay, we can't show these to you, but they'll be sitting here. So if you happen to grab these and watch them in the basement or something, we didn't show them to you.
Right.
So of course that night I snuck out, and I mean, do you ever creep around your house as a kid if you didn't want your parents to know you're creeping around? You were like a ninja.
Mm-hmm.
Or in my case, because of the 80s, a Ninja Turtle. Cowabunga.
Yeah.
So I said, Cowabunga it is, and I went and got these VHS tapes, right? So it was a stack of films. It was John Carpenter's The Thing, Sam Raimi's Evil Dead, and Wes Craven's Nightmare on Elm Street. So I grabbed these 3 tapes, and I go down to the basement. We had a big old tube TV down there, VCR, and if you remember the old TVs, when you adjust the volume, you got the little bars on the screen. And I remember I set it to the first bar. I won't go any further because I didn't want to make noise. I didn't want my parents to know I was watching these. I didn't want to get caught. I was really, really intrigued by seeing these movies. So first thing I put in was The Thing. And probably it's good that was the first one because honestly, if Evil Dead or Nightmare on Elm Street was the first film, I don't think I would have watched all three. But basically, I stayed up all night. I watched these until probably like 5 a.m. or something. I mean, I watched all three of these flicks, and I went upstairs and got in my bed and, didn't sleep because I was so freaked out. So, I mean, Ken, how do you want to do this, man? You want to just dive in one by one, or what should we do?
Well, here we go. I got a couple questions about all three in general.
Cool.
So, of the three, which one do you think affected you the most, and why?
Man, there's a lot of ways I can answer that. If we're talking about like music and sound design, probably The Thing, because like you just mentioned, I think it's apparent in Night Stories that I love Carpenter's approach to score. And that definitely stuck with me. We're talking about what like right now would be like one I just want to pop in and watch long term. Evil Dead. Sorry, I got this mirror thing, so I didn't know what side my posters on.
Right.
But probably at the time that scared me the most was probably Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, in the 80s, Freddy and Jason, all that stuff. I mean, they were like the universal monsters of their time, so to speak. I know Universal didn't put them out, but you understand my comparison.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like Freddy, everyone knew Freddy. Like before I watched that movie, I knew who Freddy Krueger was. It's part of why I wanted to watch those movies.
Right.
Because I knew my siblings had rented Nightmare on Elm Street, and I wanted to see that movie. Before I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, so here's the story. So it gives you an idea of Nightmare on Elm Street mania in the 80s, right? It was like Freddy's story might as well have been an urban legend people told you. Like that, like I already knew before seeing that movie, like he killed kids, he got killed, now he haunts their dreams, and he'll kill you in your sleep. Like that was so scary. Like that was just so scary as a kid, man. I remember before I'd seen the movie, renting the Nintendo game. If you remember the NES game, which was made by, I rented that, dude, at like this pharmacy in my hometown in Iowa, and I remember I got scared from playing the game just because I knew that story. But I mean, as a kid, I was probably like 5 or 6 when I rented the game, but I was spooked because I knew the story. And I started playing the game, and I was like, "This Nintendo game is too scary. Like this isn't Mario. I'm out." For real, like no joke.
Sleeping with your duck hunt gun.
Yeah. Taking this
That's
stuff
awesome.
out of bed, man. Yeah, and that NES game, actually Night Stories put out a tape where it's the only thing we've done that isn't completely original. We did our own interpretations of the songs from that game. We put it on cassette. So that's non-streaming because it's like, right. I mean, maybe borderline a little bit copyright infringement, but the record's all original stuff. But if I have all those tapes, I'll send it to you.
Dude, awesome! Like, because I love when you get the little warp when you go into dream space, and then it starts playing it starts playing the little digital 1-2. Freddy's coming for you on the
and it goes, Freddy, come in, it flashes on the screen. Yeah, I love the game. I played it a bunch.
Yeah, dude, I absolutely adored that game because it's weird. Like when it comes to the Freddy and Jason, Jason I think I'd have to say he was always kind of my favorite villain, but Freddy always scared me more. And like when it comes to the video games, I hated the Friday the 13th game for Nintendo. That game pissed me off. But I absolutely loved the Nightmare on Elm Street game. Yeah.
Well, the Nightmare game 2 is one of the few games on Nintendo that actually supported the 4-player tab. So you can actually play 4 players in the game. If you had 3 people that wanted to play a super challenging game, and you had but yeah, so yeah, I played that game. I've been scared of Freddy. I knew who Freddy was. I wanted to see that movie. So at the time when I saw that movie, it really affected me big time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to bounce between the movies. Let's go with The Thing. Yeah. When you think of The Thing, what is the first scene that pops into your head?
Well, the first thing that pops in my head is at the time, one of our neighbors had like a husky, and when that, I mean, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, there's gonna be spoilers, right? But when the dog's head splits apart in the kennel in the enclosure, that was the most insane special effect I'd ever seen in a film.
Yeah.
which is a big part of horror for me. I love effects. I love practical effects, and that still holds up. But I was scared of that dog going forward because I saw a dog. I thought of The Thing. So that would be the first thing I think of for The Thing.
Well, it's funny because like that's
The
another thing I
Thing
love about horror movies is how when we watch horror movies, especially at a young age, how we interpret them into our real lives. You know, like that's a huge thing with how horror affects us is how our imagination runs wild even when we're not watching those movies.
Yeah.
You know, I love that. Like that still happens with my kids now, you know, like my daughter, the scariest I can get her to watch is Gremlins. That's the line for her.
Mogwai's not for sale.
Yeah, my son's all about it, man. And we do the same thing. Like he ties it in together with everything. So it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now let's go Nightmare on Elm Street. Your
Okay.
favorite death scene in
Woo! So that is the last one I watched that night. First thing I think of that, probably when he kills Tina. I mean, that was very intense. When she's just being drug up the wall, you know, and you see Tina, you know, like so intense. Very visceral, just very. I don't know, man. That sequence is just incredible. It really. That's really like the first time you really see Freddy's in that nightmare too.
And what I really like about that scene is when she's getting drug up the wall, when she's getting cut up, you don't see Freddy at all. You know, throughout that whole scene.
Yeah, because that's when it comes back to reality, and you're seeing what her boyfriend named Rod Lane, is that his name or something?
Yeah.
But yeah, you see his perspective, and that does such a good job of explaining how the rules work in the film too. Really showing you he's really not there; he's in their mind and all that stuff. Like it's brilliant, man. But in her nightmare sequence, you know, like right before that's when you first see him, you know, and he's like, you know, when he has the long arms and you know,
hey Tina, watch this. Yeah, and he cuts his fingers off. You know, like yes, man.
Oh, I told you I'd do some show and tell. This might be the right time to do this.
Yeah.
Check this out. It's my signed glove from Robert.
Oh no, fuck it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You meet him at a con or?
Yeah, I went to a con specifically so I can meet him.
Yeah.
But do I dare put on the glove that he signed?
You have to.
Dude. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's so awesome. Just hearing the sound gives me the creeps when you hear the metal hitting together.
Yeah. But yeah, he wrote to Greg, Robert, England, Freddie. As if I wouldn't know who it was. Like, who signed my Freddie glove?
See, I've heard great things about Robert Englund, though, man. I've heard he's such a nice dude.
Beyond cool. I mean, I nerded out, you know, a little bit. And basically, I told him the kind of what I'm telling you right now, that was like one of the scariest nights of my life was watching that first film and how I snuck down to watch it. And like, I basically told him that story, you know, while he was signing the glove. And he was just really kind, really cool. And he told me, he's like, that's why I do these cons, honestly. Like, he's like, I love meeting the fans. I love hearing stories like that. He's like, it's so gratifying for me. And I mean, he was awesome, dude. He was so cool. Oh, when he signed it, he looked and he goes,
Rod.
I signed a lot of gloves, but this is a glove. So he said, that's so cool, dude. He also he put on the Freddy voice for a second. I was there with my wife and I were there with our friend Brandon and his son Charles, who just turned 14 now, which is crazy because he was like a kid when we went to this, and he'd never seen Nightmare on Elm Street yet, and so he didn't know why we were waiting this line forever to meet this guy. Right? He didn't really care. And we're getting closer to Robert, and Brandon's son Charles goes, Dad, I'm just so sick of this. I'm tired. I just want to go. And when he said I'm tired, you could see Robert, he was signing someone else's stuff, you know, and he kind of like looked over at the kid and kind of went about signing stuff. And then my friend Brand says to his son Charles, he goes, "Oh, you don't want to fall asleep in this line, son." You know? and then Robert, though, just like without missing beat, just some like put on the voice. He just goes, "Yeah, sleep kills." Like he leaned over the table and put on the voice and did it in Charles' face. And of course, if Charles hadn't seen the movie, like I don't think it really hit him what was happening. but
Right.
like I'm just kind of like, what's this old guy doing, you know? But like for me and Brand's like, holy crap, like he's
Yeah, right.
but yeah, Robert is really cool, super cool guy.
See, and that's what I was saying. I had Jesus Garcia from the one that played Rod. I did an episode of this with him.
Nice.
And dude, the nicest, kindest guy. Like after the episode, we talked for like an hour, like just the most genuine, nice dude in the world, super appreciative. So it's cool how a lot of these guys now they want to give back and they love doing stuff like this. So that was a really cool experience for me as well. So it's cool to hear that Robert Englund's that type of dude as well.
A lot of those people are. I mean, a lot of people who do the circuit and the cons, I think they really do love meeting the fans. And of course, it's good income for him. Like I get to go hang out, people tell me how great I am all day, and I get like $70 a pop or whatever. I'll tell you the one person I met at con who was not cool and was a jerk. Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian, sucked.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I was so disappointed. I'm a big Star Wars nerd. I'm like 5 figures away from having a complete vintage Kenner line. Like I love Star Wars. I was so excited to meet him. This is before the new movies that came out too, and I was just like, I got there, I was like, oh, Mr. Williams, it's so nice to meet you. Like huge fan, love your portrayal of Lando. Really hope we get to see him again in the new films. And he's just like, I'm not gonna talk about those new movies. Like, just got like real aggressive and like, oh man, I'm sorry. Like, I'm just a fan. I was just saying I love you and hope I get to see you go back into your famous role, Like,
right. I didn't
really,
mean for you to go all Apollo Creed on me.
Oh, dude, yeah. And he had like a bunch of handlers. It was really weird. They're all trying to like upsell you, like, for this much money, Billy will record a voicemail on your cell phone. For this much money,
Right.
It was weird. It seemed the exact opposite of someone like Robert. It seemed disingenuous and more like he just needed the money. Versus like Robert seemed, real humble and cool, but
right.
Not that it's even really horror related. Just saying that's the one I've talked to at a con that was like super salty dog.
I just told this story recently, and I'm not sure if it was on an episode or not because I do talk to people after the episode. So if this was on an episode, I'm sorry I'm repeating the story. But I took my son. He was about 5 or 6, and we went to see. We went to a con because my son is a big Walking Dead fan, and he wanted to meet Norman Reedus. And Daryl, he was there. And we waited in line for like 2.5 hours for my son to get his video game, the Walking Dead game, signed by Norman Reedus. And we got up there, and they were like, hey, he's not signing. He's not doing pictures today. And you could just see, like, the heartbreak on my son's face. Yeah. And we got up to him, and my son's all upset. And Norman looked at his security guard. He's like, hey, can you run out to the wherever it was and grab me a little piece of chocolate for the boy? And the guy was like, sure. And he took off, and he was like, give me your game real quick. And my son handed him the game, and he signed it, and he picked my son up. He was like, take a quick picture. And I took a picture real quick. He's like, all right, you guys go ahead and get out of here. And he didn't have to do that, man.
His management didn't want him doing that.
Yeah.
So that's so weird, man.
When he seen my son was like super hurt about it, he was like, so I got forever love and respect for Norman Reedus, man. Because like I said, he could have just been like, rules are rules, guys. I'm sorry. But he totally was like, here, let me sign this. Let me get a picture real quick. Go ahead and get out of here real quick before they come back. And like I said, that dude's got my love and respect forever just for doing that one tiny thing.
Totally cool. Yeah, so that's great.
So back to Evil Dead. Let's talk about the first thing you think of when you think of Evil Dead.
Oh, man. Well, if we're going back to like what really struck me then, well, probably the trees, raping Cheryl, or infecting her with the evil, whatever you want to say is happening there. That was very intense for a 7-year-old to see. Yeah. Very intense. That's something, I love the Evil Dead series as a whole. But it's weird when people talk about it so often now. Everyone talks about how funny Evil Dead is and this and that. It's like, I understand, 2, Army of Darkness, Astro's Evil Dead. I understand all that stuff is funny and played for laughs. The first movie's not. I mean, the first movie, the funniest thing about it would be that the effects and makeup are really dated now. The film itself is horrifying. It's done very seriously. It's very intense. It's like if you turned The Exorcist into a slasher movie. It's kind of like it's like, oh, have you seen The Exorcist? Yeah, it's really scary. A little girl gets possessed. Okay, well, imagine if you went to a cabin with your friends for the weekend and they all got possessed. and he had to murder all of them. Like, that is a really intense premise. It's dark, man. Like, that first film is scary. That really wigged me out, especially after watching The Thing, because I watched The Thing first, and I thought it was spooky, it had some scary monster effects, but The Thing to me, like, I love sci-fi stuff. Like I just mentioned, I love Star Wars, and like a lot of the monsters and stuff in The Thing, I thought was like cool sci-fi monsters.
Yeah.
You know, like I wasn't as much. I got freaked out by stuff like the dog's head split up and caught me off guard and stuff. But The Thing I thought was just kind of a awesome action movie, almost like an action sci-fi movie. I thought it was really cool. So I went into Evil Dead all rough and tough, like oh yeah, I'm ready for another one. You know. It was insane, and you have to also keep in mind that I have my TV so low on the volume when I was watching these flicks that I was like really leaning in. I mean, I was like right by that TV, so I could see what's going on, and it made it so scary. And of course, you know, VHS is always so blown out and stuff too, so everything just looks creepier, anyways. But yeah, the tree sequence. I mean, that was just. I didn't really understand what was happening, but I knew it wasn't good. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And see, my thing is, like, and a lot of people shit on me for this. I'm sorry, but the Evil Dead franchise, I love. I've seen the musical. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise. That said, Evil Dead 1 is my least favorite in the whole franchise, including the remake.
Not like as fun. It's like, it depends what you're looking for, you know? Like, I might just have a soft spot because I saw it so young and it really freaked me out, but I'm excited about the genre too, you know?
I mean, saying it's my least favorite Evil Dead is like saying, you know, Death on Two Legs is my least favorite Queen song on Night at the Opera. It's still one of my favorite albums of all time.
Oops, my ass, goodbye.
Yes,
like, a great break.
You know, like, it's still, I love Evil Dead.
That was a horrible Freddie Mercury, by the way.
Huh?
That was a horrible attempt at Freddie Mercury on my part.
If you could have nailed Freddie Mercury, I probably would have just came through the phone and kissed you anyway, man, because Freddie Mercury is a god.
If I could nail Freddie Mercury, I don't know if you and I would be talking right now. Who knows what I'd be doing if I was Freddie Mercury.
All right, so now I want to go through I just kind of got up to my next question. Each of these movies has had a remake. What are your opinions on The Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Evil Dead remakes?
Okay, well, one, there's not technically the remake of The Thing is John Carpenter's The Thing. Good sir.
Yeah, because it's the 82 and the 55, but then they had the newer one. I guess it's more of a
the newer one's a prequel. The newer one isn't a remake. It's about the Norwegian camp. So have you seen this one?
I have not. I've heard nothing but bad things
about it. It's all about
it.
the Norwegian camp, and it literally ends with them getting in the helicopter to chase the dog.
Oh, really?
Like, the idea of it is awesome. Oh, I have to type in my stuff again. This is my wife's computer, so I keep forgetting that she has this set to go to sleep apparently every like 25 seconds.
It's all good. I don't lose you when it happens. When it happens, you can just keep going because you're still rolling when it happens.
Cool. Sorry, I just had to sign in. It's distracting me to password and talk. I'm so sorry. Okay, so here's what I'd say about that prequel. If that prequel had practical effects, it would be so fucking cool. But it has a bunch of crappy CGI effects, so it just kind of ruins the whole thing. That premise is great. You know, like, because you can't, how can you really make a sequel to The Thing?
Sure.
No, you can't. But, okay, you already know what's going on. You don't need to ruin the surprise of who's infected and who's not really. We know something went bad in the Norwegian camp. Let's see them dig up the ship. Let's see everything fall apart in their camp. You know, like, let's have some fun with it. But, and I'm not saying you necessarily need to watch this movie because it is pretty weak. But it's frustrating because they apparently did all the effects practical in that movie. And then the studio in the 11th hour is basically like, these effects aren't good enough. We want CGI, blah, blah. And they really do CGI on top of the practical effects. They CGI'd over the practical stuff they actually shot on set. If you spend some time poking around YouTube, or I'll try to find some, I can text them to you or something. But there's videos. The guys who worked on the effects, of course, were real, sad about it. And they put like some of the test footage up. So you can see like them testing out the animatronics and stuff. And like, it looks awesome. And that's, well, you need to kind of take it to the next level. Because I mean, like, again, watching it, you already kind of know how it shakes out because you've seen The Thing. But if it was just a wild effects film, I think you could have a good time with it.
Sure.
You know, instead you're watching a film that's supposed to be a prequel to one of the greatest practical effects films of all time.
All CGI.
A bunch of crap CGI. So it's you know, but yeah. So
I've heard nothing but bad things about it, and I do love John Carpenter's The Thing. I actually ranked that number 3 on my top 10 favorite remakes of all time, the John Carpenter one.
And that
so
and
I definitely get it.
Are fantastic remakes.
Yeah. So your prequel, I guess we can't really do that one. So your opinion on the Nightmare on Elm Street and Evil Dead remakes?
Nightmare on Elm Street remake looked beautiful, directed by Samuel Bayer, who in music video land, you know, people remember him as the guy that directed Smells Like Teen Spirit, and he directed Pumpkins, both Butterfly Wings video, right? But you know, you can have something look nice, but you can spray paint rust, it's still rust, you know?
Yeah.
You know, what the hell's his name? The kid from Bad News Bears that was Rorschach and Watchmen who played Freddy. I can't remember his name now.
Oh,
Jack is that his name?
Earl Haley.
Or Jack, yeah. I thought his take on Freddy was cool. I mean, you can't Robert Englund is Freddy, you know, and I feel like there's an element of playing Freddy Krueger. It's like someone playing Dracula. Like, I'm not opposed to there being more Freddy movies. I understand, you know, that game. Like, I've seen so many different vampire movies and different people play Dracula, and I'm never like, well, that's not Christopher, that's not Bela Lugosi. You know, like, you know, I just enjoy Dracula. I think Freddy could be the same kind of thing, and I think Jackie's approach is cool. I like he didn't try to make it too zany. He made it more dark and weird, which admittedly, I mean, and I like all the Nightmare films, but I like the first couple films when, you know, he's still playing it real dark. You know, Robert changes his voice even as the series goes. You know, the first gets deeper in the first films and stuff, and it's real weird. I appreciate Jackie was going that direction again, trying to play it dark, trying to do something spooky with it. But unfortunately, the script was pretty damn weak, and the film's pretty weak. So, you know, I don't blame him. I've heard a lot of people talk trash on him. I don't think he's the problem with that movie. But yeah, that sucked. Really sucked. Honestly, almost all the modern remakes, the only one I really like is the Friday the 13th remake.
Really?
I thought that was awesome.
See, I love Friday the 13th remake.
I did like the Evil Dead one. I thought Evil Dead was cool.
Yeah. See, I really like the Child's Play one too, man. I dig it. I really do.
You know, what it says about technology and the dangers of tech and how much, you know, information you give out and stuff. I think a lot of stuff's really intriguing. And cool. Like, you know, the Child's Play remake, I went to it in theaters, opening weekend, had a really good time watching it. I guess I just don't know when I'm going to watch it again. You know, that's kind of my thing for movies is like, if I'm pumped to go watch it again. Like, I had nothing bad to say about the Child's Play movie. I mean, I walked out, I talked to some friends like, oh, I'm not going to go see that. Screw that. I hate the remake. I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. It was a fun new twist on it. I love, I mentioned I love Star Wars. I love Mark Hamill. You know, he does Chucky now. I thought his take on it was cool. Like, he really just wants to be Andy's friend, not in like a mean way. Yes. You know, there's no voodoo twist. But I also understand how fans of it can hate it then for that reason. Like, well, the whole story I like is that it's this serial killer, this voodoo twist, like curse, and I get it. It's so completely different. I understand. But I thought it was really fun. I just, I'm just not. I can't say it's a movie I'm like itching to go see again. You know, like I didn't pick that up on disc. I have a giant movie collection. I didn't pick that one up. So I don't know. I guess take that as you will.
Right. All right. Well, here we go. I got 2 more for you. This one is probably the hardest one that I had to answer because I do try to answer these in my head as I'm writing them. Rank The Thing, Evil Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street from worst to best in your opinion.
See, the reason it's hard, it's kind of like when you asked me earlier, like which one means the most to me thinking back. It's like they're all such different films, you know, like they mean different things. Again, like I said, The Thing had a huge influence because Carpenter's score. You know, Evil Dead because I just love the franchise and I love, you know, oh gosh, it's a good question.
Let's just go this. Instead of ranking them from worst to best, which one of the 3 is your favorite? Not franchise, just from the ones you watched. Which one is your favorite?
Well, I do have this Evil Dead poster signed by Bruce behind me. I mean, I love Evil Dead. I really, really do love it. The older I get, the more I think it might be my favorite horror franchise. Because I think the whole series is so awesome. I love the TV show. I love all 3 films. I do like that remake. The remake is cool. The remake, like almost all that's practical, which is pretty insane to watch it. Like you almost think it's CGI just because you can't wrap your mind around how it can be practical. You know what I mean? That's cool. And technically, the remake, they say it exists within the timeline of all the other movies somehow. Which, if you see Ash the Evil Dead, all the different time continuums and stuff, I buy that, and I think that's actually really cool. But I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I think Nightmare on Elm Street is the best film in that batch.
Well, you're talking about Evil Dead. You know they got another sequel coming out, right?
Yeah, they're saying they're making another sequel, but Sam's not writing it or directing it, and Ash isn't going to be in it. So, like, I don't know, man. But don't call it Evil Dead 4 then.
It's Evil Dead Rises.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, have you seen all the Ash vs. Evil Dead series then?
Oh, absolutely.
Dude, I just want Evil Dead 4, Ash in the future, run around in tanks with a little, like, space with his future militia fighting the Deadites in the future. I want that movie more than anything.
Oh, make it an Evil Dead Terminator-esque movie, you know?
Oh, that was such a phenomenal ending to that series. It was so awesome.
Dude, brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm glad you like the series, man. See, it took me a minute. Like, I thought the last season was kind of weak at the beginning of it, so it's kind of hard to make it through. So glad I did. Like you said, that ending, you're just like, this is the perfect ending to this.
The thing that we keep saying the thing, and since we're talking about the thing, like the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Nightmare on Elm Street and the Nightmare on Elm Street, and you know, that show. So season 3, I think the only reason is really weak because they didn't know it was the last season when they started writing it.
Right.
The weakness of that season is that they're spending so much time introducing his daughter character, which if they knew going into it that it was the last season, I don't think they ever introduced a new character and spent time trying to develop the character. If you look at it, you know, if it was supposed to keep going, that wouldn't be a problem with that season.
Right.
You're like, oh, that season they first introduced his daughter, and because they're building that character. I mean, the second season's definitely the best, top to bottom.
Oh,
but, man, where 3 ends, because they said like basically halfway through shooting season 3, they kind of knew the writing was kind of starting to be on the wall. So they kind of did some rewrites before stuff they hadn't shot yet. But man, that ending is so good, man. When he fights the tank, the giant Jedi demon, you know, waking up in the future in his little like cloud like he's Ellen Ripley or something. Oh, dude, so good. I love it.
I legit cried when what's his name? He called F.A. Why can't I think of his name? Pablo. Dude, when Pablo died, I cried, man. I was like, no!
So good. Well, he dies in season 2 also, right? Then he comes back.
Well, yeah, he comes back. I mean, when he died in season 2, when he got the nail through him.
Yeah.
I was like, no, not Pablo!
That's great. And like Ash is like, here, I'll pull it out. Hold on. He's like, I don't know if you should do that. And he's like, I got this. Through him.
Dude, I love Ash. That character is probably one of my favorites of all time. And the thing about Ash that's unique is usually when you're talking about horror franchises, you know, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's the villain that's continuous, not the hero. So to have a franchise like the Evil Dead where you got the hero that is constantly in the limelight, that's what makes Evil Dead special to me.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. And Bruce is just such a cool dude, you know?
Yeah, I've yet to meet him. It's on the bucket list, man.
That's something like another person that's cool. Like when I met him, he signed his poster. So cool, dude. Oh, and like you're talking about, you know, people charging for photos and like sometimes they don't. Meeting him, we went to a book reading for his second like biography he put out, which is because he has Hail to the Chin, or no, he has The Pins Could Kill. He has Hail to the Chin or whatever. That second book, he was doing like a reading for it in Iowa City. So we drove to see it because it was like $30. And you got a copy of the book signed by him, and then he was going to just like do like an hour and a half speech about the book or whatever, like talk and tell stories. Yeah, so that's $30 for sure. And I took that poster just in case somehow I met him, could get him to sign something, you know, whatever. So he talks for about 45 minutes. Then he stops and he's like, This is fun. Well, I see a lot of you guys brought things, posters, movies, whatever. I'll tell you what. I'm not going to leave until every person here has whatever they want signed. So I'm going to set up a table here on the stage. We're going to go one row by one row, and I'm not just going to sign whatever. If you have something that's not related to anything I'm not going to sign it. In that case, bring the book that you got, which I've already signed for all of you guys, and I'll customize it with your name or something. So since my wife was there, we got one of our books he wrote, to Greg and Jill. But since I had this poster, I had him sign this, right? And he guys said beforehand, I don't have time to talk to you guys. Not that I don't want to, but I just want to sign stuff. So just to be fair to everyone, we'll go row by row, bring your stuff,
Right.
we'll all sign it, and we'll keep moving, okay? Which is fair. And it's cool he was doing it. He didn't have to do that at all, right? So we get there, and I put the poster out, and he's like, old blue. I need my silver pen for this. And he reaches over and he's getting his pen, his little marker. I'm doing a horrible Bruce Campbell impression, but you get the idea. And as he's kind of signing his name, because he just signs his name, everyone's saying things like, go. As he signs his name, I'm like, Mr. Campbell, I just want to say I think you're one of the finest actors working the genre since Vincent Price. And he stops and he looks over and he goes, no shit? I go, no shit. And he goes, well, sent you on the level. And then he wrote, stay groovy, and then he wrote Ash underneath his name. He just signed same. I say it was so cool, but I just look no shit, wow, sent you on the level. It's just his voice, just I can't do a good impression, but you can imagine it, right?
100%.
Which one things so cool. But now I'm on a quest. I want to get the rest of the cast to sign that poster. So
I get it.
Bruce is the hardest one to get. Him and Sam, they're the big sharks. They're the big fish. So next time I see a con where the rest of the cast there, I'm going, man.
Dude, let me know. I'll drive out there.
Heck yeah.
I'm not too far away from you.
Where are you at?
Michigan.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
So I'm not too.
So see, you gotta love Evil Dead.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Dearborn, baby.
Dearborn.
So I always end this with a skull count. Now we got to do a three-way skull count, rating 0 to 5, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. The Thing. Where are you rating that on your skull count?
Man, I'm gonna say something. These are all 5 school movies in my opinion. These are heavy. Not just to my nostalgia. These are the films people are getting into the genre. You're always you have to see these movies. Even though I know Evil Dead 1's your least favorite of the series, I know I'm assuming you're gonna have less skulls there.
No, well, still, I still give Evil Dead 1 4 skulls. It's my least favorite. Fuck, dude. It's I still love the movie. I could still, watch that movie over and over. I think it plays more to how great I think 2 and Army of Darkness and the remake are, not how bad the first one was. It's just like I said, dated. And I look at Evil Dead 2 as essentially almost a remake of Evil Dead 1 anyway.
Oh, it totally is. Yeah.
So
if you watch it all the way from the beginning of part 2, it is a remake, or you can just start it right after he's killed his girlfriend for the summary, and it's picking up where the first one left off. But I feel they're kind of ignoring part 1. I always thought they were ignoring part 1 period until they brought Cheryl back on Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Right. Well,
I was kind of Evil Dead was separate, and then 2 and on was its own thing.
When you watch 2, they don't bring up any of the other people that went out there with him. It was just him and his Cheryl. Well,
I think it was something to do with distribution rights, because New Line had that at the time or something, so they couldn't use the footage. So since they couldn't use the stock footage, they're like, let's just compress the movie into one person, one kill, and just tell it real fast, which is hilarious. And then Army of Darkness, of course, they tell it again with a different actress as his girlfriend, which is hilarious to me.
Michigan State sweatshirt, though.
I love it, man.
Yeah. All right, well, man, hey, don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. I got some of Greg's links down here in the description. Make sure you're checking him out. As always, guys, keep talking horror. Stay what you are, and we'll talk to you guys soon.